So one of the most known franchises to this day can arguably be Star Wars, ranging all the way from 1977 to just the latest installment in 2019. But what some people may not know is the creator behind these films, which would be George Lucas. So the purpose of my speech today is to inform my audience about the director and producer George Lucas, as well as some of his failures and successes with within the film industry. Many of us may know or have seen some of his, major franchises such as Indiana Jones or Star Wars, like I said, but may not know the producer or director behind these major cultural icons in, American industry. So today I will be talking about George Lucas within his early years as a main point, as well as his successes THX 1138, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and some of his failures such as Howard the Duck. So George Lucas, as an early producer in THX 1138 will be my first main point that I'm making. He started out as a student at the University of Southern California School of Cinematic Arts, where he drew inspiration to develop his first film, THX 1138 in 1967. So he later debuted that in 1971 as an actual movie in theaters. Now, the problem is not many people knew about his production since it was not too critically acclaimed. However, it did give way for Lucas to produce a smaller independent film called American Graffiti in 1973, which he did receive an Oscar nomination for. Now, during this time between 1973 and 1977, though, Lucas did come up with the idea for his well-known franchise, Star Wars, of course. So the second point I want to make is the idea of production of Star Wars as well as Indiana Jones and how it impacted George Lucas' filmmaking career. So he started out with Star Wars, and it came up from an idea of his former science fiction film, as well as a few key films such as Flash Gordon, Metropolis, and a French comic book known as Valerian. Now, Star Wars started out as a remake for Flash Gordon, but when he couldn't obtain the rights for it, he started to produce a spin-off of his own, which with influences like a shiny, gold companion from Metropolis, or even key figures from Valerian, such as the, ship for what they had. George Lucas had created and directed a masterpiece, as much some must say, that stands the test of American culture. At the same time, though, George Lucas came up with the idea for Indiana Jones with Steven Spielberg. So George was a producer throughout 3 of the original Indiana Jones movies, while Spielberg directed Raiders of the Lost Ark in 1981, The Temple of Doom in 1984, and The Last Crusade in 1989. With all 3 box office hits, even starring major actors such as Harrison Ford, Kate Capshaw, who is now Spielberg's wife, and even Sean Connery, who's noted for King Arthur in some of his films. Now, after the acclaimed success of the first Star Wars trilogy, though, and seeing the successful special effects in Jurassic Park in 1993, Lucas decided to start with a new Star Wars trilogy based on the origins of his characters from the originals. He then released 3 new sequels ranging from the time frame of 1999 to 2005, and they had major success as well, starting off Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. Now, while seeing his successes with his own franchises, Lucas started delving into other franchises, such as the comic book universe with his debut of Howard the Duck, which was a Marvel comic book character. So that's my third main point what I want to get to is George Lucas's most notable failure, Howard the Duck. Now, 3 years after his final Star Wars film, or in the original trilogy, Return of the Jedi in 1983, George Lucas did come out with Howard the Duck in 1986. With the visual effects that he developed for his other franchises and as all co-producers from projects such as American Graffiti, some may have speculated that this film would be the next big franchise for Marvel, comic book adaptations. For example, what we see nowadays with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Disney, what they've done. However, when Howard the Duck released in theaters, the movie flopped actually and made only $16 million, when it cost nearly about $50 million to produce the film. So it kind of set back the film industry a little bit with superhero movies as well, since the next superhero movie we would see would be in 2002, almost 20 years later, with Spider-Man and Marvel and Paramount. So in conclusion, after his successes and flops though in the film industry, George Lucas decided to sell his project studio, Lucasfilm, to Disney in 2013 for $4.1 billion. So Lucas mainly had retired comfortably with his achievements at that time. So as you can see, the career of George Lucas in the American film industry is an interesting roller coaster, major successes and a few failures along the way. But at the end of the day, however, you must always learn that, do or do not, there is no try, as told by one of George Lucas's characters in the Star Wars universe. Give it your 100% and you will see an end result. Thank you.